You know that cup of coffee you're holding right now? Or maybe just thinking about? Well, it's way more than just a morning habit. It's actually the last chapter of this incredible story that spans 1,000 years, packed with adventure, science, and a whole lot of patience. So, let's dive in and trace that journey together.
Yeah, this is a sight most of us know and love. It's that simple pleasure, that moment of calm, or for a lot of us, that necessary kickstart to the day. But it's so easy to forget the incredible journey that little bean took to get from a farm into our cup. We almost never stop to think about the seed that started it all.
So that's the big question, right? What secrets, what history, what unbelievable chain of events had to happen just so you could enjoy this one cup? Well, that's what we're here to do. We're going to peel back the layers and uncover that exact story. And oh, what a story it is. We're going to start with its journey across the entire globe, which honestly reads less like a history lesson and more like some kind of spy thriller. We're talking smuggling, seduction, and a plant that completely took the world by storm.
You know, long before anyone ever thought to roast a bean, people knew about coffee's power. Herders in Africa would mix the seeds with fat to create these literal energy bars to get them through long trips. And later, way back in 15th century Arabia, Sufi mystics would boil the cherries to make a tea called kushir to help them stay awake for their nightly prayers.
But once people started roasting the beans, well, the secret was out, and everybody wanted in. In the 1600s, people started smuggling fertile seeds out of Arabia, totally breaking their monopoly. By the 1700s, European powers had spread it all across their tropical colonies. And then, in this really weird twist, by the 1800s, coffee was brought back to Africa, but this time as a colonial cash crop. And you can just see that explosion right here. For the longest time, the Arabs guarded their coffee fiercely. They'd even boil the beans before selling them so no one else could grow them. But you can literally trace the lines as coffee breaks out of Arabia and just follows the main arteries of colonial trade. The desire for it was just too strong to keep it contained. And the stories of how it spread are just legendary. I mean, there's the Sufi pilgrim who strapped fertile seeds to his stomach to sneak them into India. There was a Dutch trader who straight up stole seedlings for the botanical gardens in Amsterdam. And my personal favorite, this Brazilian officer was sent to French Guiana to get seeds. The governor said no, so he seduced the governor's wife, who then gave him a goodbye bouquet, which just happened to be spiked with coffee seedlings. Amazing. So here's the bottom line. In a pretty short amount of time, coffee went from being this little regional secret to a full-blown global obsession. It wasn't just a drink anymore. It was a powerful economic engine that would literally change the fate of entire countries. Okay, but coffee isn't just one thing. Let's shift gears and look at the plant itself, because you might be surprised at how diverse this family tree really is.
So every single coffee bean comes from a tree in what's called the Coffea genus. And get this, while scientists have found over 124 different species of Coffea, a whopping 99% of all the coffee grown and consumed in the entire world comes from just 2 of them. Just 2 species out of more than 100.
And here they are, the 2 titans of the coffee world. On one side, you've got Arabica. It's the delicate, aromatic, flavorful one. It's kind of fancy, grows up in the mountains and costs a bit more. And on the other side, you've got Robusta. Just like the name says, it's robust. It's a tough plant, easy to grow, packed with caffeine, and has this bolder, more rustic flavor.
Now, if we zoom in on just the Arabica family, it gets even wilder. Pretty much all the thousands of specialty coffee varieties we know and love today, Geisha, Caturra, Pacamara, they can all trace their family history back to just 2 parent plants that were taken out of Africa centuries ago, Typica and Bourbon.
All right, so we've covered the wild history and the family tree. Now let's kind of get our hands dirty and look at the actual life cycle of a single coffee plant, from one tiny little seed all the way to a ripe cherry ready for harvest. It all starts with a single seed, usually planted in a nursery. As it starts to sprout, this tiny seedling pops up, which farmers affectionately call a soldier. But this is a long game. That little soldier has to grow and mature for 3 to 5 years before it's finally ready to produce its very first flowers and fruit. Just think about that, a 5-year wait just for the first harvest. And this right here explains so much about why certain coffees grow where they do. Arabica is fussy. It needs those high altitudes and cooler temps to develop all its complex sugars and flavors. Robusta, on the other hand, can handle the heat of the lowlands. And get this, that super high caffeine content in Robusta, it's basically a natural pesticide, which is a big reason why the plant is so much tougher. So after months and months, the tree's flowers turn into these coffee cherries. They start out green, and then, for most types, they ripen into this deep, beautiful red. Now, harvesting is painstaking work, because for the best quality coffee, pickers have to go back to the same tree over and over, selecting only the perfectly ripe cherries, all by hand. Okay, once those cherries are finally picked, a race against time begins. This last step on the farm, the processing, is the first and maybe the most critical test of a coffee's potential flavor. Seriously, you have to move fast. Those beautiful ripe cherries have to be processed within just a few hours of being picked if you want to save their quality. All the farmer's hard work, the years of growing, the careful harvesting, it can all be ruined right here if this isn't done with incredible care.
So how do you get the seed, which is what we call the bean, out of the fruit? Well, there are two main paths. You've got the dry or natural process, where the entire cherries are just laid out to dry in the sun, kind of like giant raisins. Or there's the wet process, where the fruit skin is washed off first, and then the beans, which are covered in this sticky layer, are dried. This one choice dramatically changes the final taste in your cup.
And there you have it. From a smuggled seed 1,000 years ago, to a specific type of plant grown for years at high altitude, to a perfectly ripe cherry that's carefully processed, all of that history, all that biology, and all that hard work, its journey is finally complete. It's ready to be roasted and brewed into the cup that's in your hands right now.
I mean, the journey is just incredible. So the next time you take a sip, maybe you'll taste a little hint of the high mountains where it grew, or the sunny patio where it was dried, or maybe even the centuries of history that brought it to you. Now that you know its secret life, what will you taste?